foremost is to do whatever we do in Zoom. You can go to the bottom right of most of your screens and click on the reactions. I'm going to do a heart for Nona and applause for Nona. But I would like everybody to express how delighted you are. There she is. There's Nona.
Hi.
We are all so delighted.
Hi,
This
Al.
is a great honor. So go ahead and do your reactions. I'm going to go for another heart. Nona, there's a heart.
Okay.
And Zach maybe for a moment can give us a big view, a gallery view, so we can see all the hearts and thumbs up
Oh,
and
yeah.
claps.
I see them coming.
This is very exciting, and of course, we would love to have you in the Cozy Writers House in Philadelphia, and all these people sitting in the room. But it's not to be for reasons beyond our control. Let's just say. So thank you for doing this, Nona. It is a great honor. I also want to take a moment to thank Mingo Reynolds. Zach, maybe you'll feature her. Mingo coordinates the Blut Symposium every year. I know she loves doing it. Nona, if we were in person, what would happen at the end of the night is that Mingo would take you out to her car and you would sign the inside of the, what do we call that? The inside of the roof, whatever. There's some great singer-songwriter signatures in there. So I guess
great.
at some point Mingo will have to do a road trip and get you.
Yeah.
If you're not that far away.
Yeah.
So Mingo, thank you very much, as always. And I'm going to say to the folks what you would normally say at this moment, which is that we want to take your questions and comments. And the way to do that is to put them in the chat. So Mingo will see them. And of course, Anthony, who is our host and moderator, will see them. And you can put them there any time. But I've been to many of these, and usually Anthony turns at a certain point to the audience, and he will cue you again for your questions. So if you put a question or comment early on, and you might think it might get lost in the chat, you can put it in there again. So thank you, Mingo. Did I say everything I needed to say? Great, thank you, Mingo. All right, I'm going to snap because my audio is on. But if you have a way of snapping or clapping for Mingo Reynolds, who is cherished by all of us. Thank you. And Mitchell and Margot Blutt, I hope that Zach can feature them as well. There they are. Zach is very good at this point. Margot and Mitchell, well, years ago, it's now 15 years ago that you made this commitment. They really wanted us at the Writers House to stretch a little beyond the written word to words written for music. And thus the Blutt Singer-Songwriter Symposium was created. And Nona, it's been just a huge treat. And they're there every year supporting this. And they're really the reason why we do it. So thank you to Mitchell and Margot. And I wonder if you would unmute and just say a word or two about what this program has meant to you.
Zach gave us technical permission to unmute, so we unmuted. Thank you, Zach. It was an idea that was a collaborative idea from Al and Jean Marie Neely from the School of Arts and Sciences. It's a little bit of our input, and it's become, just a fantastic tradition that I'll speak from our vantage point, that has brought just remarkable people and ideas and music into the Kelly Writers House, the Penn community, and somewhat beyond, because some of this information gets beyond the immediate audience. And it's been a joy. And
I went through some of the names recently, and I can't believe some of the people that we've gotten and to get known to. But to get Lou Reed to come and stay for dinner was probably
yeah, Nona, you knew Lou pretty well.
Absolutely.
And for dinner.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was
wonderful.
That was an experience that we can all describe. At some point.
He's a particular kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what was it, Mingo, that he had a specific food craving?
Kielbasa.
Kielbasa. Kilbasa was brought in for
We had to
Lou.
bring in
Right.
Kielbasa.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
I think,
terminal to get it. I'm like, no, we will get you, Kilbasa. You
yes. And as I recall, he only ate one bite of it after all that.
Oh, he ate very enthusiastically, actually.
Oh, I'm misremembering.
Yeah,
Yes.
asked to meet Mingo, asked to meet the person who got it.
Yeah.
One card of the place where we got it. It was,
I think at some point, Margot and Mitchell, when we get to maybe the official 15th year, which will be next year, or maybe the 20th, 6 years from now, we can have a session devoted to all of the superstars that we met and just reminisce about it. Tonight's superstar, the superest star one can imagine, is of course Nona, and I'm now going to turn it to Anthony DeCurtis and say something about Anthony, so you can all, especially those of you who haven't seen one of these sessions or haven't seen Anthony DeCurtis in action, you're in for a treat. The whole program really has depended on the brilliance of this incredibly skilled interviewer. Sorry to embarrass you, Anthony.
please
A
go ahead.
music critic, a music historian, biographer of Lou Reed, the aforementioned, and great interviewer who really knows music. And all I want to do is recommend that in addition to running out and buying everything produced by Nona Hendryx and listening to it, you'll need to do two things. Go to your favorite online bookstore and just type in Anthony DeCurtis. DeCurtis is one word, and you'll get an amazing array of books that you can feast on. Do that. And the other thing, of course, is to go to YouTube and search Anthony DeCurtis and spend some time in the coming days watching Anthony at work, conducting interviews. And also, if you're really lucky, you'll find him performing the songs of Lou Reed in front of a band, which is amazing. So now I want you are muted, I am not. So I'm going to put my hands together audibly, and I would like you to go back to the reactions and applaud for both Nona and Anthony in anticipation of the great conversation we are about to have. So thank you. Anthony,
Thank you.
it's all
Wow.
yours. Thank you.
Well, I mean, thank you so much for that that characteristically gracious and generous introduction. And you know, I couldn't be more excited to be here with Nona Hendryx. I only wish it could be in person, but you know, we've termed this event, you know, the Singer-Songwriter Symposium, but and Nona certainly is a singer and a songwriter, but her presence here, I think, reflects the degree to which, you know, we interpret that category very broadly. Nona is somebody whose, you know, work has, you know, traveled from soul and R&B to rock and roll to really what only could be called kind of Afrofuturism. You know, she's embraced technology. She's somebody who's without, you know, any kind of contrivance or any sense of, you know, I've got to be up to the minute, has always remained up to the minute. She's just alert. She's creative, extremely intelligent, a wonderful singer and composer, and, you know, someone who really always tries to create music that suits the time and that is simultaneously timeless. So, Nona, it's such a pleasure to have you here.
Wow. Thank you, Anthony. That's a lot. I guess it's living long. You get to do all these things, I suppose. You know, but thank you. It's really great and it's an honor. Thank you, Mitch. Thank you, Margot, and Mingo, and everybody else. Al, Alley Katz, wherever she went, and Zach for helping this get started today. And it's really an honor. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Well, Nona, you know, I was, when we were talking the other day, I mean, I always say, you know, when we do these things, I feel obviously the conversation is something that's extremely important to me and that I love. that I hope gratifies people. But I know, you know, everyone out there is sitting around thinking, so is she going to perform? You know, I'd love for you to start us off with a song that, you know, that you know, we can talk about, you know, once you've transported us.
Yeah, I wanted to start with Transformation, and it's a song that has been I've recorded with several people several different ways, and I'm going to perform my version, and I'm going to do these with tracks because I think that it makes it a better performance. And maybe one I'll do just me and the piano, or beginning it with me and the piano. But this is Transformation, and then I want to show some of how one song can have many lives. This is Transformation, and this song was written with Kevin Staples and Carol Pope. And it's a song that I've been doing for lots of years, because things are always changing. And as you will see, this song has had its own multiple lives, but it's one of my signature songs, and that's why I'm doing it. Us to us, us to them. Change your mind, change your skin. Life to death, weak to strength. Cash your check, change your sex. Day to night, dark to light. Hard to soft, on the off. Push to shove, hate to love. In and out, it's all about, 'cause they're just transformations, variations, alternations, deviations. You know, Mother Nature rules us all. Rules us all. Wet to dry, born to die. Yin to yang, pleasure, pain. Good to bad, crazy or sane. Oh, if you make the rules, you got to play the game. Fist the glove, lose or win. You live a life of sin, then you're born again. Trash to art, heart to heart. Oh, big or small, we're all apart, 'cause they're just transformations, variations, alternations, deviations. You know, Mother Nature rules us all, 'cause they're just transformations, variations, alternations, deviations. You know, Mother Nature rules us all. Rules us all. Hey! You can get up and dance in your house if you want to. Yeah. This wouldn't be the same without the groove. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Some people will, some people won't. Love to hate, karma to fate. Oh, what goes around will come back around. Transformations, variations, alternations. You know that Mother Nature rules us all. 'Cause they're just transformations, variations, alternations, deviations. You know, Mother Nature rules us all. Rules us all. That
Damn.
is transformation.
That was transformation indeed.
I'm usually on my feet, but not today. And I do have pants and shoes on, just so you know. Yes.
Darn.
Yes, darn it.
We, no, that was just extraordinary. And I wonder, before we, get on to, the kind of various lives that this song has had, which is actually always a very interesting subject, I think. I mean, that idea of interpretation, even interpreting, your own work when you're involved with it, and then other artists, taking their shot at it as well. But why don't you tell us a little bit about, how that song came to be? I mean, you described it as a signature song of yours. It kind of could be called a theme song. It captures your career so well. So please describe the process of writing it.
It was, I wrote the song with Kevin Staples and Carol Pope. They were a group in Canada, in Toronto. And it's an interesting story. I was booked to play a club in Toronto. This was post LaBelle. And of course, I didn't have my own following then. It was pretty much LaBelle's following. So I then had to prove myself. And one of the places that I was invited to play was called The Edge. It was a club in Toronto. And it was through, I think, a relationship with Carol Pope and Kevin Staples, and with Vicky. I think Vicky Wickham was going to manage Carol and Kevin. They had a group, a duo. And so I went to do this this club. I was booked for a week, and it was 2 shows a night. And the first show, I think there was like Vicky, Carol, Kevin, the bartender, and a waitress, and somebody else in the club. And it was like, oh my God, this is not off to a good start. And the other 2, I think, or 3 people who were there that night, one was a journalist. And I did the show. I did my show as I do. And he wrote about the show, and the rest of the week was sold out for every show, right? And that was the beginning of my relationship with Carol and Kevin. And it reminds me of the fact that no matter how many people are in the house, you do the show, you perform, and that was the beginning. So Carol and Kevin and I became good friends, and we started doing some writing together. And this is one of the first songs that we wrote together. And I was going to do an album, and of course, this was a song I was working with Bill Laswell and Michael Beinhorn of Material.
And did you specifically start out with the idea of transformation? Like, how did the theme sort of occur to you?
Well, it's something that, part of my own sort of philosophy or thinking in life is that, the whole idea of, like it's constant change. The only thing that's constant is change. And that we do go from these, yin to yang, pleasure or pain, those things, those opposites that on one side of the door, there's one, and the other side of the coin or a door, there's two sides. And actually some people say there's three because there's the side in the middle. So that's where it came from. It came from the fact that I was going through a transformation. I was going through a change from having been a part of a group, LaBelle, and having that group metamorphose from Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells, or from the Bluebells. And so my life was just this constant change, and something I actually appreciate.
I love your story also because it demonstrates the power of music critics. There's somebody who wrote about doing it, built the club. That's fantastic. I love it.
Yes.
Well, tell us about these various versions of the song and the various interpretations, and how a song can evolve and how a song can itself transform, even as it's about the notion of transformation.
Yeah, I'll play just a little bit of each one for you. And this first one was with an artist from Berkeley. Her name is Shay Rose. And also with Terry Lynn Carrington, the amazing drummer who teaches a professor at Berkeley. And I was doing this recording and with Terry, and Terry said, I'd like to do Transformation because she really loved it. And so I said, okay. And she brought Shay Rose in, and Shay Rose is more like a young hip-hop rap artist. And this was the version that she did with two guys who she worked with, and Terry. I'll just play a bit of it.
Rust to dust, us to them. Change your mind, change your skin. Day to night, dark to light, all about transformation. Rust to dust, us to them.
From a sister to another funky sister. Yeah, fight the battle side by side. We die for one another. Yeah, from a sister to another funky sister. We live, we love, we ride, we die for one another. Yeah, from a sister to another funky sister. Yeah, we fight the battle side by side. We die for one another. Yeah, right. From a sister to another funky sister.
So that was that version. And then there was this version, which I was doing another project with at Berkeley, and it was with a lot of different students. And what they did is they took different songs of my songs from my catalog and reimagined them. And this was what one of the students did with Transformation. Us to them. Change your mind, change your skin. Life to death, weak to strength. Cash a check, change your sex. Day to night, dark to light. Hard to solve, on to off. Push to shove, hate to love. In and out, it's all about transformation. So, and this one is from the show with the group Betty and Pam Grier from Sisters. Oh God! Now I've forgotten the name of the show. It was a show about young lesbian women.
Transformation.
That was on HBO, I think. And you'll hear Pam Grier singing
constant
lead at some point.
Change is the only constant. We bleed and don't die. We sweat when it's minus 50 outside. We fight in the battles side by side.
It's all focused around.
It's a sister thing.
Sisters.
It's a WOMAN thing. And we're coming together. We're pulling ourselves together.
And I was a character on the show.
It's all about transformation.
Us to dust, us to them.
And that's Pam Grier singing.
Change your mind, change your skin. Life to death, weak to strength. And cash a check, change your sex. Day to night, dark to light. Heart soft on off.
And then there's just one more version that's, I think, quite interesting to play because it's very different. It's a more of a jazz take on it. This is Terry Lynn Carrington and Jerry Allen, Esperanza Spalding, and I think possibly Sheila E. and other women performing on it. Let me get the volume back.
Information. It's all about to another.
Oh, wrong one, sorry.
Sisters. From one sister to
It's this one.
rust to dust, us to them. Change your mind, change your skin. Life to death, weak to strength. Cash a check, change your sex. Day to night, dark to light. Hard to soft, on to off. Push to shove, hate to love. In and out, it's all about transformation.
So, that's the many lives of one song.
I was going to say what is so great about all of those is that they really reflect your own disinterest in genre. You know, the song just takes on so many forms, like people discover in it, you know, their own story and their own way to present it. By the way, some people are suggesting that that the show you were referring to is the L Word.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. It was the L Word. Thank you, people.
Yeah,
But you know, this thing, the it's an interesting thing that happened because not only it's when a certain group of young black males discovered my music, and like that I guess it's the funk underneath that's in the bass line. Africa Bambaataa was like, that's my jam, you know. and so many, you know, more from the hip hop young guys that I met later, like that was the song. And then another young hip hop guy named Geronimo, I didn't play that version. He also used it as the foundation for a record that he made. So it has this thing about it in terms of that rhythm, and there's all these there's like polyrhythms that are going on. You know, that that pulse, and then then there's the lines. You know, those lines that happen. So I think it's just that it has, you know, it's a unique sort of puzzle of a song.
People seem to find their way into it.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your origins. You know, when did you first, start encountering music, and what were your kind of first kind of musical endeavors and first responses to the music that you were hearing? What's your origin story?
My origin story. I always loved music, but it wasn't something that I thought, when I was growing up, that it was something within my family that you would think of as a career. That's something you were going to do to earn a living. And, but music was always a part of not so much the home, but the community. And my brother Shelby, actually started singing with like a doo-wop group. But that was more, we were thinking that was like something fun that he did. And they actually did some shows, and we went to see them. There was a theater in Trenton, New Jersey called The Ranch. And we would go to The Ranch to see movies, and they would have, this is back when they would have like sock hops and things like that. And they would turn the movie theater into like a teenage place, and it was called the sock hop because you had to take your shoes off because it was usually in the gymnasium, and they didn't want you to mess up the gymnasium floor, so they were called sock hops. And that's sort of where I began to sort of hear more music. And my older brother John, he brought home this album, and it was a Yusef Lateef album, right? So he was into jazz, and I thought it was like the worst thing I ever heard. It was just like this, like, what is that noise? What is? And so I was introduced to that. There was a lot of my brother Shelby with his doo-wop, and then my friends listening to, and my best friend, I think, when I, as a teenager, her name was Dolores Costello, and Dolores was a huge Elvis fan. And Elvis was one of the first concerts I ever attended.
Oh, well, right? That's not a bad start.
Yeah, and I went because she wanted to go. So all of those things, and as well as, the music within the church, I was not really that interested in the church. But being a part of my family, that was something you had to attend, you had to do until you were able to not attend. And when I actually sort of had more interest in it is when I actually did sing in the choir. I joined the junior choir, and there's actually recently somebody sent me a picture of me in the junior choir with my two sisters. All right, and so that I still wasn't like, that was not really like a burning desire or passion to make music, and that has not been my journey to do that. So, and how I actually am sitting here today is because of Sarah Dash, who her church came to visit my church, and I was singing lead, I think, in the junior choir that time, probably the first time I ever did, and she asked me to join a local group. And that began my journey, and still, it was not my intention to actually do this as a way of living, or and so it grew on me in the way that when I began to write songs, or was discovered that I actually could do that by writing poetry.
How did the Bluebells come to form?
The Bluebells formed through Sarah and I were in a group, in this group that she asked me to join. And this all happened, I think, probably in about 6 months. But I said yes. And it was like 5 of us in the group. And one of the singers, her mother, Sandra Mingo, was a was a stage mother and wanted her daughter, who was the lead singer, to be in music, in pop music, and she found a manager in Philadelphia who managed artists, and he had us come over. We went over and we sang in his living room, and that was with Sarah, Jimmy, Sandra, and one other person, I can't remember her name. And he said, Mr. Montague said, okay, yeah, I think there's something here that I could work with. And we went away. And one of the other groups that he managed was a group called the Ordettes. And one of the singers, the lead singer in that group, was Patricia Holt, better known as Patti LaBelle. And he knew people who were working in music then. There was a guy called Richie Rome, who was a musician. I think Richie played saxophone. Bobby, how could I forget his name? Bobby. Bobby arranged most of the MSF and BP music out of Philadelphia. He and Richie were that band, and they did a lot of the music for Gamble and Huff in that whole Philadelphia sound. And this is prior to that happening. Richie was working with with this man called Halby Robinson, who had a record label. The record label was in his car dealership. I should have known better if he had a record label in the car dealership. And he wanted a girl group to re-record a record that he had recorded with another group. And Mr. Montague, of course, had Patti, Cindy Birdsong, who also was, I think, a part of the Ordettes, myself and Sarah to go and sing this song and that's how we became the Bluebells. And it was really this label, Newtown Records out of Philadelphia, that we started as the Bluebells, and that was in 1961. And the record, I think it went to top 10. I Sold My Heart to the Junk Man. And we didn't know that we were singing about junk, drugs. We thought we were singing about, the junk man who came around your neighborhood to pick up the junk of your broken heart. But it was a song that Billie Holiday had recorded. I think, did she write it? I'm not sure. I think maybe. But anyway, so that was the beginning of the Bluebells, and I sit here.
You had, quite a run with that group. Obviously, you opened or performed alongside the Rolling Stones and many other bands, during the 60s. Can you tell us a little bit what that was all like? Was it fun, exciting, scary, weird? All of the above?
It was all of the above, I have to say. We were traveling internationally anyway. We spent a lot of time in Jamaica for some reason. There was an artist called Millie Small. I don't know whether you know Millie Small. My Boy Lollipop. And we did a tour in Jamaica with, it was a very strange tour. It was the Bluebells, Millie Small, a comedian, and feather dancers was the bill. And we traveled all over Jamaica performing. And then we went to England for the first time. I think that was probably 60, maybe 62. I can't remember the first time we went. Or maybe 63, but that also, I think, was how a lot of the English artists knew of the Bluebells, was because we did it. There was a agent agent who put together tours all over England and Scotland and Wales, and we also went to France and other countries. And this was like in the very beginning. This was as Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells. No, we were the Bluebells. And we had to change our name to Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells because there was a very famous French dance troupe called the Bluebells. And you could not have that name in Europe or in France specifically. And so that's when Patti LaBelle was added on to and the Bluebells. And that was, and I think that maybe that's, the Stones or Elton. Oh, right. Elton was Reggie Dwight was our keyboard player, right? So Reggie, so there was the Bluesology was the band that backed the, probably most of the African-American artists who would come to England because they were called Bluesology. So obviously they had some idea about the blues or music that was relative to black artists. And Elton was the keyboard player. And that's, we toured, we went to Germany. We toured a lot of in West Germany, specifically the army bases. And so we were in Europe from early on in our career, from probably like 62, 63. And then, when was the Stones tour? That was probably a little bit later, a couple of years later. They were going to tour and they wanted different American artists to be a part of the tour. And we were asked to be one of the opening acts along with a group called the Vibrations from Philadelphia, who were a really great performing group. They were, I think, 4 or 5 guys, and they did, all these dance moves, sort of pre-Temptations, actually. They were really, really amazing. And the horror, the scary part was opening for the Stones. that was scary. I'm telling you. I think the first show was in Toronto or Vancouver, and the audience, they were taking girls out in ambulances, and the Stones weren't even in the building, right? They were fainting, screaming, throwing, and lots of them had made all these like little effigies or dolls of the Stones. So they were throwing things at the stage. They were throwing, they had made cakes. They had made scarves, knitted scarves, all kinds of stuff for the Stones. And of course, they gave it to us. We ate the cake and we took the scarves and the dolls. And, but it was really, I had not seen anything like that other than the Beatles, that pandemonium. And they screamed. They didn't even know we were on the stage, right? They were just like, Mick, Keith, Brian, Bob.
The sense, Keith Richards has said, that they went for months never finishing a show.
Yes.
It's like they would just, the fans would just kind of like storm the stage.
Yes.
Eventually Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells became LaBelle, and as your pillow there indicates, you had a massive hit with Lady Marmalade. Could you tell us what that was like? To be at that level of success, commerciality.
Yeah. Well, we were together for 17 years. Patty, Sarah, and Cindy Birdsong, who was a part of the group. But Cindy left actually to join the Supremes in 67 or 68 when Florence died. And so it was the 3 of us, and we decided, I don't know whether we even actually talked about it, but we just carried on, the 3 of us. And we reconnected with, through Patty, reconnected with Vicky in London. They'd stayed in touch, I think, or I'm not sure. I may be getting it wrong, or Sarah, one of them. But, and Vicky, by that time, was working with Kit Lambert and Chris Stamp, who managed The Who. And they'd signed Jimmy. And they also had Arthur Brown, who was a really interesting character.
Yeah, I saw him.
Did you see Arthur Brown?
I did.
Very interesting. And Vicky, I guess, must have bent Chris and Kit's ear about this group called Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells. And our friend Nancy Lewis and Vicky were pretending to run a record label for Kit and Chris, who were pretending to have a record label. And Vicky brought Kit and Chris to the Apollo to see Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells to see if they would be interested in signing this girl group. I don't know why, but and they came. They came to the Apollo and saw us, and Kit, who was also a very interesting, eccentric character, whose father was a concert conductor. His mother, very sort of more that musical side. I don't, and the whole
was the term that Pete Townsend used to describe.
What is it? What was it?
Posh.
Posh. Yes, he was posh, but he was also bonkers. So it worked.
They often go together. Yeah.
Yes. And so they signed us, and we were in London probably for about 8 months, 9 months. They had us come over, and we spent time there just like working on music, and sometimes not working on music, sometimes doing other things that we shouldn't be doing, but we were doing them. And getting to know, that was the whole Kings Road, Carnaby Street period of time, that wonderful time between 68 and 69 when, pre the, it was a great time. The clubs, hanging out with all of the, with the Beatles and Tom Jones and all those people, and everybody just hung out kind of together at the Scots of St. James and all the different clubs. And that was when we made this metamorphosis into LaBelle and came back to New York to, we started actually recording in London. And there's a great song that Kit was really very instrumental in our recording called Miss Otis Regrets, our version of it. And then we came back to New York to finish, to record more for the album. And that's where we did the first album for, I think it was Warner Brothers, the LaBelle album. And then we did another album for the Moonshadow album, and then the next album. And that's when I began to write, because they believed that Kit and Chris were really, they managed The Who. The Who wrote their own songs. They were a band. They were not some, and that was what they felt that the LaBelle should be. And so they asked if one of us could write, and I said, I write poetry. I don't really write songs, or I hadn't discovered the ability to. And they said, well, go write something. And I did, and the first songs, I think I'd written a song before that with Curtis Mayfield's brother, that Curtis gave me the blessing, and maybe that was the beginning, the inkling that I could do it. Having Curtis Mayfield go, yeah, that's good. That's a good song. And then that's where LaBelle was born. And getting to Lady Marmalade, it took us from 69, 70 to 74 to come into contact with Bob Crew, who Vicky knew from before, and to have him play that song to us. He's the old Brill Building guy, and he's like, sure. I got a song, you want to hear it? You might like it. I've got this other song over here. You want to hear that one? And that was one of the ones that he played. And then we went to New Orleans, and we were going to work with Alan Toussaint, and it's I guess it's coming together of the song, the place, the producer, the singers, and that it is a song about a woman of the evening in New Orleans, and it was recorded in New Orleans, and then there's history.
Yeah, and it's a song that still, it's a song that people play and love and hear all the time.
Yeah, it now is in the Library of Congress as of 10 days ago.
Oh, really? Well, congratulations. That's excellent.
Yeah, it's we got a Lady of the Evening in the Library of Congress.
Very good. Probably not the first one.
Probably not.
Congress. Yeah. why, would you be up for doing another song for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to do this song because it's from a time that more recent than Transformation, and it's during the time that President Obama was elected, and there was just so much animosity and so much I guess hate speech and dissension and difficulties that were going on. They came to a head more recently, but it was there. And I wanted to do this song called Let's Give Love a Try. You ought to give love a try.
Let's give love a try.
Ooh.
Let's give love a try.
Hate is growing all around us. We gotta keep the faith, gotta believe and trust. All we can do if we only do it right. Somebody say,
give love a try.
We gotta build love, keep it rising. Don't let nobody talk you into compromising. How we can do it if we only do it right. Somebody say,
give love a try.
Faith is knowing, faith is believing. All you do is smile at me and I stop breathing. How we can do it if we only do it right. Say,
give love a try.
You gonna kill me with kindness. Let me go down and drown the sea of love from blindness. How we can do it if we only do it right. Say,
give love a try.
hate is growing all around us. We gotta keep and drown the sea of love from blindness. How we can do it if we only do it right. Say,
give love a try.
bring me your anger, but linger safe in my arms, and stars will still shine. Love's not a prison, love's a wisdom will help you rise above fear and pride. Somebody say, ooh, oh,
let's give love a try.
hate is growing all around us. We gotta keep the faith, gotta believe and trust. How we can do it if we only do it right. Say,
Love a try.
we gotta build love, keep it rising. Don't let nobody talk y'all into compromising. How we can do it if we only do it right. Say,
Give love a try.
you gonna kill me with kindness. Let me go down and drown in the sea of love from blindness. How we can do it if we only do it right. Say,
Give love a try.
bring me your anger, but linger safe in my arms. Stars will still shine. Love's not a prison. Love's wisdom will help you rise. Oh, above fear and pride. give love a try.
Let's give love.
Somebody say,
You gotta give something.
somebody said nothing, but nothing leaves nothing in that. Ooh, somebody say,
Let's give love.
hey, hey, hey.
Somebody said nothing but nothing.
Let's give love a try. Give love a try.
Give love a try.
Oh, let's give love a try. Let's give love a try.
Wow. No, that was extraordinary. You know, not only your incredible performance, but the song itself, I mean, is something that, you know, is so relevant to right now. Very, very strong. I want to, in a minute, open the floor to questions. And Mingo, maybe you can help organize some of that. We seem to have a ton of comments. So, but you know, Nona, from that point on, you know, you've gone on to, you know, a wonderful solo career, and one that's involved so many amazing, really, collaborations. You know, with, you know, I mean, one just recently with, you know, Amanda Shires and, you know, a bunch of other female artists. And,
Yes.
But going back to, you know, David Byrne and Peter Gabriel, and, you know, part of that is, you know, your own musical openness, your own ability to just kind of create and enter musical contexts and shape musical contexts that you know, suit your own style. I wonder if you could, you know, maybe pick one or two to talk about, if that's possible, to you know, that you regard as particular high points.
Yeah, you know, there are many. I don't think about them often, so but you know, specifically Peter, working with Peter on Winds of Change, which we'll get to later, and working, you know, with you know, Keith on Rock This House, Keith Richards. You know, I cherish my collaboration with Terry Lynn Carrington, who I think is just a brilliant musician, and people like Jerry Allen and Esperanza Spalding. You know, these are all consummate musicians, and actually getting to work with them in their field, which is somewhere I had not, did not know how to actually be in the midst of, because, you know, when you're working with artists at that level, and there were other musicians there, you know, the trumpet player who on the and the horn player from Belgium, and the many artists that Terry has worked with. I mean, they're just really incredible musicians. So I had to really learn and listen, like what are they doing, where are they doing it, how are they doing it, what is the appropriate vocal to add to the mix of what they're doing. And the same thing, you know, with Peter, you know, with Peter Gabriel, with his work, it's a very specific kind of work, sound. And, you know, working with Laurie Anderson, same thing. It's a very, you know, they have what they create, and I think I'm attracted to what it is that they're doing, so I'm really open to finding my way in it. It's not about, you know, you need to bend your music to fit my vocal. I try to, and I think it's because as a vocalist, I was a part of a group, and Patty was the lead singer, and so I didn't have to put a stamp on what my vocal is early. And I didn't have the desire to really be a singer. I really became a singer as a songwriter. And I sing because I write songs. And, you know, if I sit at the piano, have to find, the melody that I want. And my songs, as I write them for myself, usually are born with the lyric and the melody. So rarely do they come separately. And so working with other people and listening to what music they're bringing to the table is important for me to sort of absorb, what, like a sponge, what it is that they're making, what their energy is, why they have chosen that melody, those instruments, that instrumentation, that arrangement, and to try and, I think it's a curiosity to find out where I fit in it. And the same thing, with Material as producers. They came from a totally different place in how they work, and so I had to make that adjustment. And working as an artist with producers specifically, and engineers and all the other people who are part of making the music that you eventually release and people think is just you. All these other people have contributed to it. The musicians, the musicians I've worked with for years. Ronnie Drayton, my guitarist, one of the most amazing guitarists I've ever heard. He's up there with Jeff Beck and people like that for me. And Ronnie and I worked together for probably about 40 years, and he was sort of my guitar voice, and it was really a puzzle that how we fit. And then Warren McRae, my bass player, and Trevor Gale, and Kiki Hawkins, and Asa Arnold, and Keith Fluitt, and many, Eddie Martinez, all the musicians that I've worked with over the years, they've contributed so much to what it is that I do, because they're generous and they bring their gifts and their talent and their music to the table, and I get to eat it. I get to consume it and turn it into something that is, an amalgam of what I'm hearing, and and how we are with each other. And then they're the engineers that I've worked with who, again, and working with my friend Dan Hartman, who I miss terribly. Dan and I were like the Bopsy twins, and we would write music together, and we would laugh together, and we would eat together, and we would spend such great time together. And he was so silly, but one of the greatest songwriters, and producers. So, I mean, these collaborations, they sort of, were friendships, but also musical journey people. Working with George Clinton, and, who I adore, and used to cut my hair, which is, yet again, I should have known better. Sure. And then like Mavis Staples, to sing with Mavis Staples, who is, her voice is like, is a treasure. So there's so many, and I'm sure I'm missing some, but it's just really, I've been on a musical sort of kaleidoscope of sound and the many people that I've had the opportunity to work with and create with and get to know. I've missed so many. I can't I can't begin.
Quite extraordinary. Let's say get a couple of questions in here. We've got Charles Alexander, who wrote, "I'm curious about the writing of Bustin' Out. It sounds very autobiographical. I almost lost my courage to create." Could you talk about that?
Yeah, that was with Bill Laswell and Michael Beinhorn for their album. I think it was called One Down, and they asked me to sing lead on this song, and I did some of the lyrics because they had part of it, and I identified with it, of course, because I was at a period when I was doing rock. My first album in '77 was a straight up rock album, and with Rock This House as the lead song from the album. And I didn't get any love from the industry. It was like, nope, you don't do that. That's not for you. And that was really a very disappointing time from both sides. Black people didn't get it, and the white people didn't get it. And it was like, you're black, you don't do rock music. You're black, you don't do rock music on either side of the street.
Yeah.
And that's what I was doing. I was playing all the clubs. I was touring. That's the music I wanted to make. That's what I was loving at the time. And so, yeah, that line, I almost lost my courage to create. If I leave here alive, I leave nothing behind. So I want to let you know, here's where I draw the line, because I'm busting out. And that was saying what I felt, that, I've crossed that line. I've drawn the line, and this is what I'm going to do. And, too bad if you don't like it.
We have another question here from Howie Lipson, who is a great friend of the Writer's House, and I'm happy to say a friend of mine as well. And he says, I want to ask Nona about working on Remain in Light, such a landmark, groundbreaking record. Was there awareness at the time that it was such a revolutionary album?
See, I told you I forgot. I forgot some of the collaborations. David Byrne, Talking Heads. No, I don't think artists ever think that way. If they do, good for them. But I don't think, it was just that we loved the music that we were doing, and Jerry Harrison really was the person who brought me in, the keyboard player, and he brought Bernie Worrell in, he brought Stephen Scales in, he brought the Johnson brothers to play at one point, and so no, I mean, it was really, and Brian Eno, and who else was working on it? Robert Fripp. No, I think they were trying to make something different. Not so much that it was going to be, maybe they knew that after they finished and sat back and listened, and maybe the label went, oh, this could be big. And maybe then, but at the time, no, it was just like we were having fun making music.
People talk about this all the time, and I must say, this is the only instance in which I was driving a car and pulled over on the side of the road because of something I was hearing was Remain in Light. It came on the College Station. I was living in Atlanta, and the College Station played a track from Remain in Light, and I was so floored by how different it was, how distinctive it sounded, different from anything else, that I just thought, I have to stop and hear this.
Yeah, again, what I was saying about the having, all of the people who put their print, their spirit on that making of that record. People think of the Talking Heads, they think of David Byrne, they think of, Tina and Chris and Jerry. But, there are many people involved. Seymour Stein, who signed them. Seymour is responsible for a lot of the music that people love, from Madonna to, just a long list. Yes.
We have a question from Phyllis, and says, I'd love to hear about recording Sun City and filming the video.
Yeah. Little Steven, yet another collaboration I've forgotten. Another fine mess you've gotten me into. That was Roy Thomas Baker, I believe, was involved, was producing that with Steven. And not Roy Thomas Baker, I'm sorry.
I know who you're talking about, and I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
Baker is correct.
Oh, God. Okay, it'll come to me. Anyway, sorry?
He did all those remixes from Madonna.
Yeah, I could see his face, but I can't think of his name right now to come to me. And because he worked with I think Lisa. Anyway, they were making the record.
Arthur Baker.
Arthur Baker. Thank you. And Stephen was organizing, putting this whole thing together to support, specifically to try and help end apartheid and in South Africa, and Nelson Mandela and Winnie Mandela and all of the people, even going his relationship with someone like Peter Gabriel, going back to Peter's recording of Biko, and, all of the, specifically the British artists who got involved in that ending of apartheid as artists and musicians, Bono and U2. But Stephen wanted to do something to really, really bring attention to it in America. And so he started organizing this record. And he asked, and, with those records, it's like you go in and you sing and you sing and you sing, and they use one line, right, for your line, because they've got so many people, they can't use more than the one. So I had the line with Bono and I think what's his name from System, Mick Murphy, and we recorded, and then they wanted to do a video, and the video was just I've been involved in 2 videos like this, and there's that one, and then there's the end of the Sgt. Pepper's film, where it's like just a sea of artists and people and managers and agents and going, and that's what it was. And then we were in the street. We were just like, we took over the street. I don't know whether they had a license to do it or not, but we took over the street, and they were shooting, and it was just great. We had a great time, and we all were really earnest, and we were really like, we're going to end apartheid. This is the song. And it was to say to other artists, don't play Sun City, because you're supporting an oppressive regime. And it was important. I think it was important that it happened, that we did it, and there's a record of it, and apartheid was ended.
I showed it to my students just this semester, actually.
Ah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's little Stephen. That's his. He brought that together.
We've got one other question, or we've got a million questions, but we have more questions than time, unfortunately. But we got this question: will Female Trouble be re-released with the remastered, expanded treatment that Nona, The Heat, and The Art of Self-Defense got recently?
I have no idea. That's up to the record label. I think it's EMI who owns the masters, and that this is a particular bone that we really don't want to pick right now, because the whole idea, I've always had this real contention about the fact that a label, the onerous recording contracts that artists signed for years, where labels own your music into perpetuity, and and some artists have really gotten to the point where they've been able to buy their music back or get their music back. But I've always equated with the fact that if you take a loan and you buy a house and you pay the loan off, you own the house, right? Or you buy land, but it doesn't work that way in the music business. They give you an advance to make the music, and then they own it forever. It's really, so that's then you have to have a relationship with the label, and over time, this is how many years later, there are new people there who probably call up, hi, this is Nona Hendryx, I'd like to talk about, and they go, who? Nona what? Because they're probably not that old, so they probably don't remember or know or knew. So it's a very difficult subject for me, and so I have no, if that person, whoever the person was asked the question, if you want to pester the label, you can pester the label to make it happen.
Good. You were discussing obviously Nelson Mandela and apartheid, and you have one more song that you've agreed to do, and I wonder if you could talk about it a little bit. Say a few things about it before you kind of close the show with it.
Yes. That's this song again, I guess between like Transformation and Rock This House and some of the other songs, this song is a spiritual connector for me. And it's one that that in many ways it hurts to sing, but it is also, there's a joy in it as well, because I wrote it out of a very painful place when I read the ghostwritten book of Winnie Mandela, A Part of My Soul Went With Him. And I did. I just sat down at the piano after reading that book, and I started writing this. So I was trying to convey what Winnie would feel about Nelson being imprisoned, and that's where this comes from. I'll just do a little bit here, and then I'll go to the other version that I have. Sometimes the winds of change blows your way. Oh wait, I don't have my reverb on. Sorry about that. Makes a difference, I think. Is that better? Sometimes the winds of change blows your way. You can choose to run, stay and face the thing. Sometimes you don't know why you are called to stand for something, or for one and one for all. Only time will show why the wind would blow your way. And I've loved you through the years, and I've cried, but not your tears of blood and separation from the ones you loved and your nation. Somewhere a river flows made of tears, and the hands of time can't bring back the years. Somewhere in your heart you drew the line, never looking back, you made the highest climb. Only flesh and bone, standing on your own, you led the way. And I've loved you through the years, and I've cried, but not your tears of blood and separation from the ones you loved and your nation. So I wrote that song, and I've been singing it for a long time, and it was wonderful to see that Nelson was released from prison. Sometimes the winds of change blows your way, and only time will show why the wind would blow your way. And I've loved you through the years, and I've cried not your tears of blood and separation from the ones you loved and your nation. I've loved you from a distance. Your insistence to be free, to be free, yes, to be free, to be free, yes, free, yes, free, yes, free, yes. I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna be free. Free, yes.
No, thank you so much. That was just incredible. And thank you all for attending. Thank you, Mitchell and Margot, for making this possible.
Yay, Mitch and Margot.
Nona,
The Bloods.
once again, Nona Hendrix, that was just breathtaking and a real privilege. Inspiring, truly inspiring.
You're welcome. Thank you, Anthony. It's good to speak with you. I've known, you know Vicky. I know, and it's great to, to have this opportunity to share the music and the, some of the stories. And thank you for jogging my memory.
By all means, it was my pleasure, and
And can I give a shout out to my friend Adele Bertai, who she's written this book called Why LaBelle Matters.
Yeah, somebody was referring to it earlier.
Yeah, and she was an artist herself, and I signed her to the label when I had a label, and then she wrote this book and just released, and I think it's really wonderful that she was able to convey what it was that LaBelle meant as a group. And I have to shout out to Sarah Dash if she's on here, and to Patty, because Patty's not on because she's probably, she's a little bit sort of technophobe.
Well, thank you, and again, thanks to everyone who turned in to watch.
Yeah, thank you.
Margot and Nona Hendrix, what can I say? Just phenomenal.
Thank you, team. UPenn.
Have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.